Welcome to the Cheap Seats with Ryan Christopherson. I'm sitting here with Cubs Hall of Fame pitcher Fergie Jenkins. So Fergie, you had a 19-year career in Major League Baseball. What do you think was the secret to your incredible durability?
Well, like any athlete, you got to stay in shape. During the off season, I worked out, played a lot of hockey. I ran a lot, and then I had an opportunity to play with the Globetrotters 3 seasons. Running was basically my secret, I think, because the fact that a lot of these guys, the players now, they lift weights. But I've never messed with weights. I did rubber bands, stretching, whatnot, but running was I think the formula that kept my body strong, the core of my body, and my arm.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of a overlooked thing, I think, nowadays.
Every ball club has a weight room. It's almost a combination of LA Fitness and a Gold's Gym. When you go into these clubhouses, and you can see all these weights lined up along the walls. And I just never mess with weights.
Yeah, looking at it, do you think there's too much of an emphasis on trying to strike batters out and kind of maybe velocity from pitchers nowadays?
Well, that's been going on for quite a while. Everybody wants to throw 95 plus miles an hour, and I don't think you need. The speed is good. There's nothing wrong with having good speed, but the changing speeds and location is how you get hitters out. I think if people seen some of the playoff games, Strasburg struck out 12 or 13 Cubs on changeups.
Yeah, he was dominant.
But the biggest thing is the hardest pitch to hit is an off-speed pitch. If you use the same arm angle, same motion, they can't detect a lot of that pitch that comes in because of the fact that hitters are looking at speed and arm angle.
Yeah, glad you brought that up. Kyle Hendricks is a guy for the Cubs who really has a great changeup and really has a great arm action with that. And he's a guy who only throws about 88, so not lighting up the radar gun, but kind of to the point you were talking about. His changeup is really his best weapon.
Right. I think if you can utilize your strong point and you pitch to your strength, and his strength is off speed, I think that he's been successful doing it. He's not going to change. There's been a lot of guys. Pedro Rodriguez Martinez had a great changeup. There's been Soto with Cincinnati had a great changeup. I had a great changeup. Sure, you can throw the ball 85, 90 miles an hour, but then if you can throw the ball 70, 71, guys are out in front because that ball has a dip to it. They can't pick it up, and the rotation of the ball backwards, it doesn't get to the plate.
Speaking of Pedro Martinez, him, Kurt Schilling, fellow Cub Greg Maddux, and you are the only Major League pitchers to ever record more than 3,000 strikeouts with fewer than 1,000 walks. So kind of going back to great command, in watching the Cubs pitching staff struggles with walks in the playoffs this year, how would you go about fixing an issue like that?
Well, I think by far you have to throw. Batting practice always helped me. In the spring training situation for 6 weeks, I threw batting practice every third day if I didn't go out there and pitch.
Really?
Staying on the mound, being able to judge where I wanted to throw certain pitches, left and right-handed hitters, and the throwing to zones, like I said, up and down, in and out, teaches you how to change speeds and teaches you what the strike zone's all about. And to make the hitter do part of the work, and they call it pitch to contact.
Yeah.
Sure, those 7 guys behind you have to play too. If you got a great shortstop, second baseman, outfield, why not utilize their ability also? You and the catcher work closely together, calling pitches. Now, if you do make a mistake, those individuals that are behind you can rectify that mistake by making a good play or making a sensational play.
Definitely. So, just announced you have a book coming out with author George Castle about the 1969 Cubs season and kind of your insight. How is it like to play for manager Leo DeRocher?
Well, I joined the ball club in '66 when I got traded from the Phillies. I came up with them originally in 1965. I traded the Cubs in '66. Leo was an individual that wanted you to play the game his way, fundamentally. We had a lot of clubhouse meetings prior to the game and after the game. But trying to let people know and give them an insight on what the '69 team in that season was all about. George Castle was a great reporter. He wrote stories about it. I had an opportunity to pitch, and knowing situations that we had an opportunity to win, but we ran into a slump late in September. Bill Hands that year won 20 games. I won 21 games that year. We had a great pitching staff. Kenny Holtz was on the team, Rich Nye and Phil Reagan, the late Joe Necro. I just think that we got plenty of hits late in the season, but we didn't score runs. We lose 2-1, 1-0, 3-2, and unfortunately, the Mets were a little stronger. They had a great winning streak going, and they end up winning that part of the division that we didn't want them to win, but unfortunately, they did win.
Yeah, and kind of mentioned there about players were tired at the end of the season.
That was a big controversy, playing day baseball, all day games. They said that the players played too many day games. That unfortunately didn't really tax them to the point where they were losing weight. And the only way that the guys, they said, to recover was to play on the road. But I didn't feel that day games hurt me. Guys went out there and played. Ernie Banks, Billy Williams, Monsanto, all the guys, Kessinger, Becker, Hundley. We had a pretty stable lineup, and Leo stayed with that lineup. Unfortunately, we had a lot of extra men. We had Nate Oliver, Gene Oliver, Willie Smith, Popovich, Ted Savage. Leo just played the guys that he trusted. And we had a pretty good bench, too, but he just didn't play them.
It's interesting, kind of comparing it to the Cubs manager nowadays. He's known, Joe Madden, for really mixing up the lineup and using his whole bench, starting different guys every day and different positions. And so it's kind of interesting to compare a manager's style. And neither is right or wrong. They work in different ways, especially the different type of players you have. It certainly depends on that.
Right.
But it's interesting to hear what Leo DeRocher's
the platoon system was even good back then, but Leo stayed with the players he trusted. Joe Madden has his theory on how to win ball games, utilizing because now you have 13 pitchers on the staff, which is way too many. That means less position players. In my era, we had 9 pitchers, so now you got 16 players that you can call upon and play. Pinch hitters, pinch runners. You just can't. In the year 2016, you don't have that.
Yeah, you see it in National League Baseball nowadays because of that. Now you have a trouble with if you need a pinch hitter or something like that. You start running out in extra innings. You have to have pitchers hit because you've run out of position players. So, kind of going back, tying in 1969 in your career, what was the one hitter you really did not want to pitch to?
Well, there were several individuals in our division with Pittsburgh, with Roberto Clemente.
Oh, yes.
He gave me trouble from time to time, and in the Western Division was probably Willie McCovey. Everybody that comes to the plate has a mission and I think an idea of what their approach to trying to get hits against you. Some guys are successful and some are not, but when you look at it, a couple individuals you wouldn't want to face in a crucial situation, men on base, less than 2 outs, they're going to put the ball in play. And a lot of times they didn't strike out, so they're going to put the ball in play. And unfortunately, hits are part of what the game's all about.
For sure. And one more time. So yesterday was announced that the 1969 Cubs book with Fergie Jenkins and George Castle. You can follow along at Fergie's social media on Facebook, on Twitter, at 31 Fergie Jenkins. Fergie, it was a pleasure to interview you, and look forward to reading your book down the line.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to completing it. We did a couple of chapters yesterday, and I think with the opportunity to basically to publicize it and have it put into book knowledge and into print, and when the year 2019 comes around, it should be a lot of fun. People should really, really have fun reading the book.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and thank you again for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you.